church of the living God. Don't you want to see something real?
The Sodom sign of Luke, as he promised it, you believe the Sodom sign, then why can't you accept the Malachi voice that follows the sign to return to the Word? The Bible says so and you see it. Then listen to the voice of the sign. Flee the wrath to come.
May be silent. You might be able to silence the body that's speaking, but you'll never silence that voice. It comes from God. They stoned Stephen, but they couldn't stop his message. It'll move on. Them tapes will be played after I'm gone for years.
Welcome. This is Dr. Prophet Chris Reed bringing you Remembering the Great Prophet William Branham CD set. In this 2-volume CD set, we will remember the life of the great prophet William Branham, why his ministry changed the world. His life and ministry forever impacted Christendom. It forever impacted faith healing movements, and without a doubt he left an imprint, as many refer to him, as Kenneth Hagin referred to him as the father of the latter rain movement. In the United States of America, we remember and celebrate our fallen heroes that were soldiers in wartime, that gave their lives to defend this nation. Every year, on November 11th this year, we celebrate Veterans Day, and we show our appreciation for the men and women that fought for our great freedom. Now, the great prophet William Marion Branham was a soldier for God that fought against demon principalities and dark powers that caused human sickness. He was chosen by God to fight unseen powers of darkness, and as a soldier of God, he delivered the unsaved to the freedom of Jesus Christ. The great prophet William M. Branham was a soldier of God that fought the powers of darkness and used his life and ministry and spiritual gifts to set the captives free. If the United States of America can remember and celebrate Veterans Day every year, which we should, we as Christians have to also remember and celebrate our fallen heroes, one of whom, like the great prophet William Branham, that stood strong as a Christian soldier as he set the captives free. Several years ago in my ministry, sometime around the year 2012, I was about 28 years old, and I really began to feel a strong pull to study the ministry of William Branham. Where I live here in Indiana, I live about 3 hours exact north of where William Branham pastored in Jeffersonville, Indiana, right along the Indiana-Kentucky line, right near the Ohio River. His church in Jeffersonville still stands there to this day. and it's called Branham Tabernacle. It is now somewhat of a museum because the church and everything in it, the seating, everything is still exactly how it was when William Branham, the great prophet of God, preached there. Of course, William Branham preached there as a pastor, but many years later, his healing and prophetic gift came to him, and it did not just stay there in Jeffersonville, Indiana, but it began to spread literally all over the world as he went around the world 7 times. As I began to study his ministry, being a young man, I became absolutely amazed at his gift. William Branham, as you will see as we study his life and why it's relevant to us who love prophetic ministry and love spiritual gifts and love great powerful manifestations of the Spirit of God. As we study his life, you'll see why I was amazed at his gift, as well as many others, such as Oral Roberts and A.A. Allen and Paul Cain, and there were many others that were greatly used and anointed by God, F.F. Bosworth, and several others. But even though many of them, of those familiar names I just mentioned, were greatly gifted themselves, they will all tell you and have been known to have quoted to said that their ministry was modeled after and stemmed from the ministry of William Branham, who was really the leader who began the healing movement revival after the post-World War II era. And his ministry really began somewhere between his great prophetic healing ministry really exploded in the years from 1947 to 1965. It was documented in many magazines of the era, the Great Healing Revival magazine that went all over the world, and the ministries that literally sprung out of William Branham's ministry. His influence impacted all of the latter rain Pentecostal movement, without a doubt. Oftentimes, many people shy away from William Branham because later in his life and ministry, he espoused and started preaching doctrines that were not mainstream, and he began to preach some ideologies that strayed away from traditional Christian theology. But besides that, leaving those last few years of his life alone regarding his teaching, no one can take away from the impact of his ministry. I believe that it was Kenneth Hagin who said that no one has had a more miraculous gifted ministry than William Branham has since the days of Jesus Christ himself. What a statement. What a statement.